Hello, Pastor Deborah here, and we are beginning another episode of my powerful story called It's Time, my personal story of death and resurrection that each of you will have to go through, called It's Time. This is episode number 24, and I've placed this in the School of Late on the website and on the playlist on YouTube, and in the Kingdom of Agape Love volume number 1. These are my personal stories. In volume number 2, we're going to start into some powerful true stories of me helping people in great darkness. But this is episode number 24, and we're picking up on the night that God said to me, it's time. Remember? I was laying in my bed, and God said, it's time. And I knew what that meant. My spirit would be taken out of my physical body and taken to a satanic meeting to be killed. Because years and years before that, I had allowed myself and vowed that I would be willing to die in a satanic meeting for just one Satanist, to show God's love for them through my death, so they could live. And I was laying on my bed, and I heard God said, it's time. I knew I would die that night. My son would find me the next morning, and I would have died of natural causes. But that was the vow that I had made. So let's pick up here in episode number 24. And we will first say, please pay attention. If it starts to bother you in any way, it's a powerful story. Just stop, and maybe you don't need to listen to it. And I wanted to give you that disclaimer because this is almost an unbelievable spiritual story that might affect you, called It's Time. Remember, Satan did not initiate this spiritual command to Jan, that was my other name, the other me, asking her if she would sacrifice herself and her son to him as love offerings, and in obedience to save just one Satanist at a satanic meeting. This command was of God, the great I Am, as he had done years ago with Abraham regarding his son named Isaac, the son of promise. So Deborah knew she was going to die while she was inside of another physical body in a satanic meeting. It was sort of Jan knowing this also, but it was powerful, in which God had brought her to spiritually himself. He brought me back. He took me. God came and took my spirit with my permission, and he put it inside of another physical body that was laying on an altar in a satanic meeting. Remember, God is a fair judge to Satan. If there is evidence to prove his case, so be it. Satan wins the judgment. So down came the knife in Satan's hand, just as in the movie The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe, out of the Chronicles of Narnia by C.S. Lewis. But there was one major exception. As the knife's tip just touched the physical body of the woman that Deborah's spirit was in on that satanic altar. There is a story about this in volume 2 of the book called Help Me, and you'll read about this. The blade began dissolving as Satan pushed it into the physical body. What was happening? How could Satan be defeated this time? How could this be true? Then the great majestic voice of God himself came and stood on the altar in full array of his glory and power and authority and dominion, and said for all to hear across the entire kingdom of darkness and the kingdom of heaven, you cannot kill her, for she is not Jan, who made the vow to die as a love offering to me many years ago. This is Deborah. And she didn't take the vow. Jan is already dead and buried. And she, at that very time, many years ago, when she freely offered herself to me in love and obedience to save one of my precious spiritual children in the kingdom of darkness, she was sacrificed and killed and died as a love offering, a love sacrifice to me. So you cannot kill Deborah. What had just happened? God knew that when Jan made her vow to him many, many years earlier, Satan would finally seek his legal permission to fulfill her free will offering to him to save just one Satanist there in his meeting. God knew that Satan would petition him for Deborah's life, my life. So Jan had to die before the petition was ever brought to the courtroom of the universe. And she had already died at the moment she freely decided she would die. And so too was her son. It was done. Way, way back, many years ago, unknown to Jan, Jan had died. Satan knew this had spiritually happened, for he knew the Word of God himself. But he was hoping, believing that Jan's words of her own vow to God, her free will sacrifice and offering of obedience of death for others, was still alive and enforceable against Deborah, so he could finally be rid of this spiritual creature who had been bringing great spiritual disturbances and deliverance and freedom to his slaves in the kingdom of darkness, in the spiritual world, covering the earth. God was way ahead of all of us, even Aslan. Even in the movie The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe, Aslan knew what the White Witch was going to do. And he already knew that she would ask for the blood of a traitor. And he was prepared to take the traitor's life. The great lion told Susan and Lucy in the movie, after his resurrection, that there was a deeper magic that ruled Narnia than even the White Witch knew nothing about, which was written in the words around the stone altar, which she and her demons could not read or understand them. You'll see that in the movie if you go to that scene. If they could read the words and understood them, then they would have known that when an innocent one, Deborah, who would stand in the place for others, for traitors, to be free and to be forgiven. That's what Jan did. And Deborah does it now. Death would have no legal power, legal rights to hold on or take the innocent one in death or in the grave. I'm going to stop right there. That's a lot. I want you to go watch the movie, The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe, and you learn about the deeper magic that was in Narnia. Jan didn't know it. God was ahead of us. Satan had a plan. but because I was willing to give my life for another who was trapped in Satan's kingdom and separated from a loving Father. The deeper magic worked. The deeper laws ruled my life and God's life and Satan's life. So you be encouraged. There's still a whole lot more to this. I didn't want to get too far. So we would stop here with you pondering the deeper magic that ruled Narnia. That when an innocent one, that was Jan and Deborah, who would stand in the place for others when Jan offered her life for one Satanist, who were traitors to God, unknown to them, for them to be free and forgiven, death would have no legal power, legal rights to hold on to or take the innocent one in death or in the grave. Jan gave her life on a cross years ago. And when Satan tried to take Deborah's life, he couldn't do it. Because Deborah was born again. Jan died to save others. Powerful story. Deep magic at work. And until you experience something like this, we still have a lot more to go. I just want to stop here so you can think about it and go watch that movie. The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe. The Chronicles of Narnia. And go study Aslan. All right, I'll talk to you in the next episode. Bye-bye.